Hi, Mr. Frum. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Your book has just made the New York Times bestseller list. Are you surprised at all about the level of interest, the public interest, in anything to do with Donald Trump?
I saw a little joke on Instagram a couple of days ago, things that didn't exist in 2007, the iPhone, Instagram, the nameless sense of dread with which you woke up every morning. I think people are afraid. These are prosperous times. The U.S. economy is expanding. Canada is getting the benefit. But people sense that something has gone terribly wrong in the United States. It can affect Canada. It can affect the rest of the world. And it makes them fascinated.
Do you think it's just fear, or do you think, because I have a sense from some people that it's more just like watching a car wreck. And I'm not implying that it's necessarily all negative.
Yeah.
Like you said, the economy is doing well and we get a lot of feedback about that. But is it just sort of like you can't turn your eyes away?
Well, Donald Trump is not a quietly sinister person. He is a noisily flamboyant person. So no question that there are these spectacular things. And there's also an element of buffoonery to the presidency, that Donald Trump could be more effective if he kept his mouth shut. He can't do that because he needs attention as much as he needs to enrich himself as president. So there are a lot of things that grab the attention. I think, in the end, this show would get old if it didn't seem that there was so much at stake.
Do you think he is a buffoon as he's been painted, or is he the stable genius that he describes himself, or is it somewhere in between?
I think he's wily. Look, like every journalist in Washington, I read the Wolf book with absorption, and probably half of it seems more or less true. But the depiction of Donald Trump as someone who is so addled that he can't govern himself, that's really, I think, a serious mistake. And you see that every day. Trump has survival skills, and he has the bully's instinct for the weakness of others, political opponents, and by the way, the American constitutional system. He knows where its weak points are too, and he uses them.
And what are the implications of that?
The implications of that is that Donald Trump is putting pressure on all the unwritten parts of the American democracy that make it work. He's putting pressure, for example, on the idea that law enforcement is supposed to be independent of the president, that the FBI director works for the people, not for the president. He's not part of the president's security detail. He's putting pressure on ethical norms that have grown up over the years. Donald Trump is receiving, we don't know how much, but millions upon millions of dollars in payments from foreign countries, from business partners in Turkey and the Philippines and India and the United Arab Emirates, without telling anybody what he's getting and what the relationship is between his business partners and their governments. He has broken the decision-making apparatus of the national government for national security. The National Security Council doesn't work. The State Department is emptying out. There is only the military, and he's trying to make the military a personal expression of his government. So there's a lot to worry about.
Are Republicans bothered by that? Because from an outsider's perspective, some seem like it, but the majority don't.
Well, the party in Congress is complicit. They're in a devil's bargain. Republicans in Congress don't like Donald Trump very much more than Democrats in Congress do. But they have an agenda, the Republicans in Congress, that is so unpopular that if Donald Trump had not gotten into office on the lucky bounce in the Electoral College, no one else would have been able to advance it. So they have this rare opportunity to pass into law something that probably couldn't meet the Democratic test. In return, Donald Trump says, fine, I'll sign this tax cut that's very unpopular. I will sign, if you can pass it, Obamacare repeal. You protect me from the consequences of my misconduct.
And as a Republican, what do you think about that? Do you still consider yourself one?
I'm a registered Republican. I'm a conservative. But I see trouble ahead. When I want to conserve things, among the things I want to conserve are the democratic institutions. Also, and maybe this is coming from Canada, which benefits so much from this, the American world leadership. Donald Trump does not believe in it. He doesn't understand it, and he is wrecking it. We are in a situation now where the structures of peace that have protected Canada and Europe and the Northwest Pacific since the end of the war are really in danger in a way they never have been before.
And I want to ask you about that in a second, but as a Republican, when you see the complicity in Congress or among certain segments of the party, what's the line for you? At what point do you, as this travels on or as this moves on, do you say to yourself, I don't know if this is for me, or is there no line?
Oh, you don't say, the worse it gets, the more it has to be for me. You run toward trouble, not away from it. And when things are bad, that's when you're needed. So, if you have these are my friends, my relatives. This is the world in which I grew up. And when you see it going wrong, you can't shrug it off. I mean, you have to do everything you can to pull the body out of the water, even if there's a risk that the body will pull you into the water after it.
So what happens now? What do you? I mean, you know, a lot of us are thinking of that question as we watch.
Well, I think the immediate possibility is that Donald Trump will actually have an increase in strength in 2018. The economy, as we said, is strong. The stock market is strong. The tax cut, although it's very biased in favor of certain sectors of the country and certain social classes, will put money into the pockets of tens of millions of people, and they will like it. So my guess is that Donald Trump gets stronger in 2018 and his grip on the Republican Party gets tighter. Meanwhile, as the Mueller investigation proceeds, we're going to see more and more that Donald Trump did some really improper things with the Russians in 2016, and Republicans are going to have to make a very serious choice about whether they will protect American sovereignty and independence or the Trump presidency.
Do you think the public is invested in that decision?
One of the hopeful things that I see, and I do see hopeful things, I have not written a pessimistic book, is a rising level of civil engagement. 2014 saw the lowest voter turnout in the United States in any election since 1942, when the United States was at war and millions of men were overseas. 2016, again, saw a very listless election with people saying, well, I don't like either choice, I'll vote almost at random. But since Donald Trump took office, since he began to abuse the presidency in the way that he has, since he began to comport himself in a way no president ever has before, you see, as you see it at these women's marches, the first one and then the anniversary march, in the level of reader engagement that you have, people really care. They are stepping up. And I think we're in a race between the bad factors in American life and the positive ones.
Canadians really care too.
Canadians really care.
You know, and I want to, before we go, I want to get your opinion or your take as a Canadian. We are sitting here hanging off every word of Donald Trump because mostly of NAFTA.
Right.
How worried should Canadians be about this unpredictability?
Canadians should be worried a lot about NAFTA because Donald Trump, he doesn't understand what it does. He doesn't understand why it's important. He doesn't understand why it's important to American industries. He said the other day he did not realize that American agriculture benefits from NAFTA. So you don't know anything. If you don't know that American farms are America's greatest export sector, you know nothing. But he lives by domination and he lives to destroy. But the resource is that a lot of people do understand it. The governors of states like Texas and Georgia, these are Republican states, are defending NAFTA. Even very Trumpist states like Arkansas, the governor there is a strong defender of NAFTA. So there will be pressures on him, and as with everything, the future depends on what people do.
We'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Mr. Frum. Good luck with the book. I appreciate it.